Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm your host, Jeannie Hodes. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to talk about the ongoing work to find a new funding formula for Kansas public schools. I'm at the Johnson County Community College in Overland Park with Kansas State Senator Molly Baumgardner. This is kind of your territory. You also work here.
I do. So we're glad to have you here at Johnson County Community College.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for hosting. You are also on a special committee that is basically focused on finding a new funding formula for our K-12 public schools in Kansas. Tell me what you guys have learned so far.
Well, we've really spent the last 4 meetings trying to gather the information so that we have really solid data to start making some decisions. So some of the interesting things we've learned is we finally got an accurate head count for the almost 400 school districts in the state. And it seems ironic that why would it take so long to get an accurate head count? But what most people don't realize is the old formula, the formula we used to use, it allowed school districts to turn in either what their current head count was, what last year's head count was, or the average of the 3 years, whichever would generate the most funding for them. So districts are not used to submitting to the State Board of Education accurate head count numbers. They're used to just going on whichever is the highest number. So we've gathered that information. We've been looking at things like how successful students have been on standardized testing such as ACT. And unfortunately what we found is right at about 1/3 of every high school graduating class has achieved in all 4 of the different subject areas where they present that they're actually qualified or ready for college. And so you know, the interesting thing is funding for education in the state of Kansas is really kind of a really heated issue for folks. But we have great teachers in Kansas, we have great parents, we have great students, we have great administrators. We have all these folks that really want the same thing, and that's that when their child graduates from high school, they're ready to move on to either a career or to perhaps a technical training, or to college. And unfortunately, we're finding that they're not quite there yet.
Are you looking to any other states, any other successful models to get some ideas for what to implement here in Kansas?
Well, we have looked at some trends as far as what other states are doing. And interestingly enough, and this is something that I'm personally interested in, there are some other states that are looking at that. You know, we talk about it costs X number of dollars to educate a student in Kansas, but they're a little bit more thoughtful in the standpoint that they identify that it costs something, a different amount to educate a kindergartner or a first grader than it does an 8th grader or a junior in high school. And so one of the things I think that we really will have to look at is, you know, essentially $1 amount doesn't fit all. And so we do need to find out what is an optimum amount of funding for the elementary as well as the high school student.
Seeing what you've learned now, are you optimistic? Do you feel like you guys are going to make some real progress on this soon?
Well, I am optimistic. I also feel that we need to look at, you know, some of the broader issues. We have just under 400 school districts in our state, and yet 25% of them have 400 or fewer students. And so we're going to have to look at how we address those smaller districts, certainly how we fund students that have special needs or developmental disabilities. And I think it's just important that for the first time we have gathered up some really significant, accurate information. In fact, I'll let you know an interesting thing. I'd actually requested, how much are we paying for extracurricular athletics? We finally got the report more than 500 pages long as far as how much our districts are spending. So I feel once you have accurate information, that's going to help you get to what your end goal is.
But it sounds like a very big job to tackle, but I'm sure you're up for it in the coming year.
Well, we certainly are.
Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for helping host us here.
We're glad to have you be here, and it's my pleasure.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Newsmakers.